We spend our entire lives building this story about who we are. But what if that whole story is really just a mask? We're going to explore a process for looking behind that mask to find out what's really there.
It all goes back to the brilliant psychoanalyst Carl Jung. He gave us this idea of the persona. He didn't see it as a lie, not really, but more like a carefully built interface between us and the rest of the world. It's something we all do. But the real kicker is that last part of his definition, concealing our true nature.
And that leads to a pretty deep question, right? If you strip away all the stories you tell yourself and others, your job, your history, your wins, your losses, what is actually left? Seriously, just sit with that for a second. Because getting to that answer, well, that's the whole point of this. Now, this mask, this persona, it isn't some kind of character flaw. The way this work looks at it is that it's a survival tool. It's this psychological thing we build, piece by piece, from our thoughts, our feelings, our experiences, all just to help us get through life.
So why do we even build them? Well, at its core, it's all about protection. We want to feel safe from being judged. We have this deep, deep need to belong. And let's be honest, we want to hide the parts of ourselves we think are kind of broken or unlovable. It's a defense mechanism that starts way back when we're kids.
Okay, so if the mask is a defense, what is it defending us from? According to this work, all the complicated reasons, all the anxieties that keep that mask glued on, they can all be traced back to one single powerful emotion.
That's it, fear. The source material is crystal clear about this. Every single emotion that keeps our masks in place gets its energy from fear. Fear of not being good enough, fear of being rejected, fear of what we don't know. It's literally the fuel for the personality we show the world.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The source actually gives a name to these little fear-based voices in our heads, ego insurgents. Just imagine them as these tiny supervisors in your brain, your own personal inner critics, constantly whispering doubts and judgments, making absolutely sure you don't step out of line or, God forbid, take off the mask.
And here are some of the usual suspects. See if any of these guys sound familiar. Like the perfectionist. That's not really about having high standards, is it? It's a defense that tells you, hey, if you're perfect, no one can ever criticize you. Or what about the pleaser? That person is so terrified of rejection that they'll throw their own needs out the window just to make sure everyone else is happy. They're all just different flavors of the same fear.
So living like this, constantly managing a mask, with these inner critics on patrol, all of it powered by fear, well, it's not free. It takes a ton of energy, and it comes with a really, really high price for our mental and emotional health.
When the gap between our mask and our true self gets too wide, this is what happens. We're not thriving, we're just surviving. The source ties this inauthentic way of living directly to all this suffering, saying these aren't random problems, they are the direct results of a life lived in fear.
And get this, just to show you how shaky the ground we build our masks on really is, the source points to studies that suggest up to half of our memories could be false. Let that sink in for a second. If the stories that make up our identity are built on a foundation that's potentially half fiction, then what exactly are we protecting so fiercely?
Okay, so that's the problem. But what's the solution? It's not about fighting your fear or trying to rip the mask off. Instead, the work proposes this fundamental change in how we see everything, a total paradigm shift from one way of being to another.
Just look at this comparison. It's a shift from just surviving to actually thriving. From needing to control everything to learning how to surrender and go with the flow. From being all constricted and defensive to expanding and being open. And the most important one, shifting your identity from the personality, the mask, to connecting with what the source calls the sacred self.
This quote really just nails the heart of this new paradigm. If fear is the energy that builds the mask, then love is the energy that dissolves it. And we're not talking about some sentimental, mushy feeling. It's presented as the most powerful, fundamental force for change in the entire universe.
So, how do we actually make this shift? I mean, it's not like flipping a switch. It's a process. It takes a new kind of skill and a new understanding of our own consciousness. Let's break down how it works.
So, the secret weapon for this journey? The source calls it contemplative intelligence, or CQ. Think of it like this. It's the skill of just stepping back and watching your own thoughts and feelings go by like clouds in the sky. You don't have to get swept up in the storm. By just observing them without judging them, you create this tiny bit of space. And in that space, you get to choose how to respond,
not from that old fearful place, but from your true self.
And this CQ is what allows you to travel this path. We all start at the sensory level, right? Stuck in the physical world. But as we practice this observation, we start to awaken to the multisensory. That's our intuition, that quiet little voice inside. And eventually, that can lead to the extrasensory, which is a connection to the deeper truth of who we are, way beyond the limits of our personality.
This quote from Alan Alda just frames the whole journey so perfectly. It's about being brave enough to leave the familiar, comfortable city of our mask and venture out into the wild territory of our own intuition. And it's not supposed to be scary. It's a journey of wonderful discovery.
So here's the bottom line. If the mask is just a story we've been telling ourselves, a story built on shaky memories and fueled by fear, then that means we have the power to stop telling it. We have the ability to pick up the pen and become the author of our own journey. And that choice, ultimately, is ours.